Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have a great show for you today, and I am joined by Rising first-timer Spencer Brown. Spencer, welcome. I'll go easy on you for the first day. Don't worry about that. But we're filling in for Brown and Robbie, so don't be alarmed. They'll be back with you next week, and Amber and I will be here for our usual Rising Fridays tomorrow. Spencer, are you ready to have fun? Have a good time?
Absolutely. It's Friday Eve. The weather has finally cooled down a little bit here in D.C. It's a great day to talk about the news, and there's plenty of it.
I like thinking of Thursday as Friday Eve. That's good. So first, let's get into this. President Biden's reelection campaign is reportedly fundraising off of House Republicans' impeachment inquiry, calling it theater with bad actors. In an email signed by Vice President Harris on Wednesday, the campaign said the impeachment inquiry is being launched by, quote, MAGA Republicans and is, quote, beyond ridiculous. They asked for donations of $5, $10, or $25 to, quote, fight back against Kevin McCarthy and Marjorie Taylor Greene's vicious lies.
Yeah, meanwhile, Hunter Biden and his legal team filed a lawsuit Wednesday against former Trump White House aide Garrett Ziegler over the publication of the private photos, emails, and other materials that came from a hard drive that is allegedly belonging to Hunter Biden. This now is according to CBS News. Here's White House spokesman for Oversight and Investigations, Ian Sams, speaking with CNN.
Again, I think this is part of the right wing's misinformation machine to try to confuse people about what the truth is. The truth is that the president, as he has said publicly for years, calls his family every day to check in. He calls his son every day to check in. He calls his other family members to check in to see how they're doing. He loves them. They're a tight-knit family. And what the GOP's own witness testified in this case is that that's exactly what the president was doing. He was checking in with Hunter.
So it's all about, again, this idea that this is a case of a father's love for his son. I don't know what to make of this. You know, you look at the way the White House has changed the official line on this. Initially, it was that Joe Biden has never discussed business with his son Hunter. Then it was Joe Biden has never been in business with his son Hunter. And now this seems like an admission that he did, in fact, discuss business with his son. What say you?
Yeah, I think the whole thing is, it's obvious if you look at the evidence at the cause and effect, right? You look at Hunter Biden joining the board at Burisma, and there's all this stuff about Victor Shokin, whether or not he was under prosecution. That's not as interesting to me as the huge salary he was getting on a monthly basis, $80,000 per month. And then as soon as Biden's out of office, within 2 months, it's down to $44,000. To me, the whole Hunter Biden situation and their connections to Burisma is just business as usual for who's in the highest office in the United States. When I think of multinational corporations colluding with the foreign policy establishment and our elected officials, our head of the national security establishment, the NSA, or the Secretary of State, you see them working with people that they worked with at Sullivan and Cromwell, big corporate law firms. And now they're brokering deals foreign policy wise for the benefit of those large corporations that were formerly their clients that I'm sure they have stock in. And so to me, this is not something that's like new or unique to the Biden family. I will say, in a very nihilist approach, that it's good to see the Democrats finally get some backbone around messaging. I mean, Trump has to go to court to fight a criminal case. And he's like, I did everything right. I made a perfect phone call. It's kangaroo court. And his base eats it up. It's about time the Democrats flip the script in the same way and use what the Republicans are doing as political material.
I think it's interesting that you pointed out the salary, because again, this Hunter Biden is not known for an expert in energy technology or infrastructure or anything like that. And the phenomenon that you mentioned there is something we also saw with his budding art career, if you will. Remember when he put together these paintings that were basically him just blowing paint through a straw onto a canvas, and they were fetching these exorbitant prices. It wasn't because he actually was creating something new and original and beautiful for someone's home. It was, again, all about this access that you were talking about, how these the people in power sort of just traffic in access and proximity to who gets to make the decisions and decide who's in and who's out. Do you think that Hunter Biden, if he makes it through all this, will find another career to try for?
That's a really good question. I don't think there's a lot of hope of Hunter Biden getting hired somewhere. I mean, if he was an everyday person, that would be the case. If he was just, someone who was not the president's son going and applying for jobs with everything that's out there about him in the media, of course not. But he's Hunter Biden. I'm sure he has some powerful connections, and his dad has, friends who would place him in a comfortable position at their company. That's really how it goes for a lot of elites in the United States. I mean, for most people, their career would be over, but I don't know, can he live off of investments? It seems that he's kind of struggling financially if he's willing to go to court with the mother of his child over the child support that he's paying, which was set at $20,000 based on his former salary. Is he going to get another position like that? He seems to think that he won't. If he's willing to go to court and have all of his financial information exposed and have this kind of embarrassing back and forth with the mother of his child, he probably isn't too hopeful about his financial prospects. He probably believes that even if he gets another job, he'll be making much less.
Well, I think it is notable, too, if you look at some of the reporting around what Joe Biden has been able to do for his family. There was reporting about how he wasn't even able to get, his granddaughter into, I think it was Georgetown, when that favor was requested. So maybe that currency is running out a little bit along with his painting salaries. Well, according to reporting from The Hill, a high-ranking FBI official involved in the Hunter Biden investigation, Thomas Sobocinski, debunked key testimony from an IRS whistleblower who claimed the top prosecutor on the case was prevented by the DOJ in bringing charges outside of Delaware. Now, Sobocinski was the FBI lead on the team investigating Hunter Biden, and he spoke with House investigators last week, pushing back on testimony from another agent in the case who said now Special Counsel David Weiss was denied that authority and limited from bringing charges in districts beyond Delaware.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre apparently walked away from the podium during a press briefing after being asked about the Hunter Biden saga. Let's watch.
And with that, folks,
Can you explain why the president interacted with so many of his son's foreign business associates? More than half of voters told CNN they believe the president was involved and he lied. You can't have a response to that, Karine?
That's quite the moment. It's a bit of political theater. It's kind of dramatic, the face she makes before she walks away. And you almost wonder if she was given a directive of what her response should be if Hunter Biden is brought up in one of these press briefings again, and she just decided to not go with that, advised speech. Or if this was the plan, if there was some conversation in the White House that if Hunter Biden is brought up, just don't say anything at all and walk out of the room. It seems to me that this brings more press attention to the Hunter Biden issue, and that's the last thing the administration wants, which makes me think perhaps Karine Jean-Pierre was not following orders when she walked out of the room.
That's definitely an interesting idea. I mean, if you look at sort of the strategy that the Biden administration and the White House specifically has used with Karine Jean-Pierre as the spokesperson, they've had a rough go of it. I'm thinking back to when all the classified documents and boxes were being found in Biden's home in Delaware and in the Biden post-vice presidency office here in D.C., and how she was sort of let out there to say things that turned out to not be true because they were apparently just keeping her in the dark. So I feel like maybe they broke some of the trust that she may have had with others in the White House counsel's office or the people who are running these oversight investigations. And now she's just not wanting to say anything because then ultimately it's not those people that tell her or don't tell her certain things that have to face the press when it turns out what she said was wrong. It all falls on her. So maybe she's gotten a little trigger shy about saying things that she might not believe that's coming from within the White House.
Yeah, this moment to me, it's kind of funny. It's kind of giving Dave Chappelle's Black Bush skit when he's asked tough questions in the meeting and he just knocks over the water and just runs out. If that's the state of American politics, that's the state of American politics. Well predicted by comedy. Perhaps life mocks art rather than the other way around. But I think it really speaks to what's going on in the Biden administration. They have nothing at all to say about this. I mean, at least give some kind of a response. I mean, is walking out of the room better than the usual kind of paternalistic, oh, don't worry about it, everything that they talked about is happening, didn't happen, and all of the evidence isn't really evidence, and then a few months later it comes out that there's some evidence, there's some text messages, there's some emails, there's some phone calls, there's some congressional testimony from witnesses, and then they have to go back on what they originally said. And so it's a really weird situation. The way they're handling the Biden administration is like these people didn't have a lifelong career in politics. And so I don't know if they're worried about Biden's mental health, Hunter Biden's mental health, and that's why they're not really dealing with this with the press and talking about it. I think that could be a consideration here. But at the end of the day, when you're the president, you have an accountability that you have to meet with the public. You should be accountable to them to explain what's going on when there's controversy that I'm sure countries around the world are looking at. And so that's why I really wish Karine kind of stayed and answered the question there.
Yeah, I agree. I think even, like you were saying, sort of her paternalistic, just sort of scolding of, well, I'm obviously not going to address that, or I'm just not doing that today. Something, instead of just turning and walking away, I think would have been better for her and for the narrative. But it seems like kind of no matter what they do at this point in the investigations, whatever the White House does turns out to be the wrong thing because there's so much media attention on it. And we will talk about that and much more with more Rising after this.